So we're going to do something different today. The story is Ink and Embers, so let's tell it like an old-fashioned storybook. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Evelyn who lived in a little cottage in Paris. One night, she was writing alone in the candlelight on the balcony, when suddenly, a secret letter fluttered out of her notebook and down onto the cobblestones below. The letter contained coordinates. Without a word, Adrian knew he had to follow her. He trailed her through the winding streets of Venice until she stopped at a gondola. Just as she was about to slip in, he called out to her. Startled, she turned around, and they stared at each other for a moment, before she finally broke the silence. She told him that she didn't know him, and she demanded that he leave her alone. But Adrian wasn't so easily deterred. He countered that he knew more than she thought he did, dropping a mysterious package at her feet. When she opened it, he took his chance, introducing himself as a historian specializing in ancient texts. He explained that he'd been watching her because she reminded him of a long-lost love, and though he admitted it was foolish, he hoped they could pick up where she left off. Evelyn couldn't help but be intrigued by this enigmatic stranger, especially when Adrian produced a map that detailed not only where they were, but also where they were going. It seemed Evelyn was traveling to uncover a lost civilization, and Adrian wanted to join her on her quest. She tried to refuse, but he insisted. They argued, they fought, but ultimately, they decided to work together. Then suddenly, they were off on a wild goose chase through Istanbul's Grand Bazaar. As they dodged tourists and vendors, Adrian playfully suggested they should have brought horses, or perhaps a tank. Just then, Evelyn spotted a narrow passageway between two shops and disappeared inside. Adrian hesitated but followed her. The tunnel led them to a dead end, but Evelyn had already scaled a wall and beckoned for him to join her on the other side. A guard appeared, catching Adrian off guard. Evelyn shot him a grateful look, giving him just enough time to scramble over the wall. Their pursuers were closing in, so they had to hide. They found a small alcove close to each other. Breathing heavy, Evelyn turned to Adrian, her eyes sparkling with mischief and admiration, and he couldn't help but feel the same. For a moment, the danger and intrigue of their adventure faded away. All that mattered was the connection they shared in that dimly lit alley. As they stole another glance at each other, the moment was broken by the sound of footsteps near the mouth of the cave. They froze, holding their breath until the coast was clear. Then they made a mad dash for the train station. They raced across the tracks just as the platform was about to disappear into the darkness. As the train pulled away from the station, Evelyn and Adrian shared a relieved smile. They settled in for the journey through the snowy mountains, where the wind howled like a lonely wolf. After a while, Evelyn leaned against Adrian's shoulder, finding comfort in his presence. They talked for hours, sharing their dreams and fears as the train rumbled along. When they finally arrived at their destination, the ruins of a Scottish castle, the snow had stopped, and the sky was clear. Hand in hand, they explored the crumbling structure, deciphering an old spy cipher to unlock the secrets of the castle. Finally, they found what they were looking for, a hidden chamber illuminated only by a flickering torch. On the floor lay a map that revealed their final location, a remote island shrouded in mist. As they stood in the center of the chamber, their eyes met, and their lips met in a long, passionate kiss. But their moment was shattered by the sound of approaching footsteps. Trapped in the underground chamber, they had to escape through a secret passage. Luckily, Evelyn had found a loose stone in the wall, which she used to break the surface and make a hole big enough for them both to squeeze through. They emerged out of the ground just as a group of villains rounded the corner. The villains searched the area, but didn't find any trace of them. Meanwhile, Evelyn and Adrian ran for cover, making their way through the dark, dank tunnels beneath the city. They burst out of a manhole cover into the pouring rain. The villains were close behind. Evelyn stumbled and fell, but Adrian was there to catch her. Together they scrambled to their feet and raced towards the safety of a nearby building. With the villains hot on their trail, they had no choice but to keep running. They sprinted across rooftops, leaping from one building to the next, the wind whipping through their hair. Finally, they reached a clearing. In the distance, Evelyn saw a small boat bobbing on the waves. It was their only chance of escape. She and Adrian raced towards it, the villains still in pursuit. With a final burst of speed, they reached the boat and plunged into the water. The engine roared to life, and the boat sped away from the island, leaving the villains stranded on the shore. Safe at last, Evelyn and Adrian collapsed on the beach, exhausted but exhilarated. As the sun set over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Evelyn took a deep breath of the salty air. She looked over at Adrian, his face illuminated by the soft glow of the setting sun. In that moment, she realized that their adventure was far from over. There was still so much to explore, so many mysteries to solve. And most importantly, there was still so much more of their story to be written. The next morning, the villagers gathered in the town square for Evelyn's book launch. Among them were Adrian and his father. As Evelyn signed copies of her book, she caught Adrian's eye. He smiled at her, and in that brief moment, 1,000 stories flickered between them. Stories of adventure, mystery, and love. And that's the end of our story. Or maybe it's just the beginning. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe for more Ink and Embers.